when you have a 7-run lead, you just cannot give up a 7th spot. You cannot give up a grand slam
There's
like
like
that. You just can't. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dillard, bringing you guys another podcast. This is the Yankee podcast, or the Yankee Way podcast. How are you doing, my good friend, Mr. John?
good. I'm good. That was a good game tonight, so I'm happy. No, that's all I gotta say. It was a full, complete game, start to finish, and it actually looked like this was a real baseball team today that showed up and decided to actually play a full 9 innings and play a clean game of baseball. I mean, when was the last time we saw that happen? Really?
I mean, it's been a while. So I'm assuming, because we haven't done a podcast in a while, the last time we did a podcast was after the Royals series. So there's been a
Yeah.
lot that's happened afterwards.
Oh no.
I think we should just go ahead and start off talking about this Houston series in general and just talk about the first game. And then we'll kind of loop backwards, backtrack, and talk about the Red Sox series, Angel series, and the Mets series and Mariner series, because I know we haven't done anything in quite some time, which I do apologize for. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get right into this. So
This is if I remember all those series. I kind of blocked out the Red Sox series because I don't want to remember that, man. I don't want to talk. That's just rough, man.
it was rough, but we'll get to that. So let's just talk about the Houston series. So game one in the books. Yankees did well. Aaron Judge got his 500th career hit. Something
his
interesting to
500th
note.
Yeah, he got it twice.
You had DJ LeMahieu, who had 2 RBI game, multi-hit game. You had Brett Gardner, who actually did something productive for once.
Got out of the
And
wheelchair and hit a double today.
2-run RBI. You also had somehow Tyler Wade slapped one against the shift. I don't know if you saw that or not, and got a double out of it. So that was nice because that ended up turning into a 2-run. What was it? 2-run double from DJ LeMahieu.
2-run double from LeMahieu. I kind of wish it was LeCastro in there instead of Wade, but you know what? Fine. I understand.
Either way, you get the job done. The Yankees won the game. Obviously, Nestor Cortez pitched really well. Nestor's been a godsend for this team, and they've needed every second of him. Because I remember when they were talking about Michael King and his middle finger. You see that he supposedly jammed his middle finger, and on the X-rays they came up negative.
How did he jam his middle finger? I need to.
I'm
know
not
this
sure.
I need to know this information.
He's playing too much Fortnite, probably.
How do you jam your middle finger into anything? I've never done that. It's never the middle finger.
So the point that I make with the Michael King thing was a lot of people were like, oh, really? Like right at the Houston series, like right when we need him, we were going to use, Nestor Cortez as the opener, and then Michael King, because Michael King, after the first inning, has been really good. He just got I don't know what his deal is in the first inning. I think you said it earlier before the podcast.
To find his feel.
He's kind of like what James Paxton ran into with the issue with the first inning. After he gets out of the first inning, he's fine. He's good.
Gotta find his feel. Same thing with Montgomery, too. Montgomery's been pretty, let's say, mediocre in the first inning, and then after that, he's fine. Like, this is just a problem with baseball in general.
Mm-hmm.
Pitches in general, just you gotta get to aces early, because if you don't get to them in the first inning, you're not gonna get to them at all.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get on them early. If you don't, you're gonna miss your chance. Because everyone's gotta find that feel.
Mm-hmm.
All the pitchers sort of talk about it, like come out of the bullpen, and you don't know what you have until you get on the mound, and then you work through the first inning, you figure out what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what they're doing usually. That's why they're vulnerable in the first inning.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he throws his sinker. He needs to get a feel for that thing, because that thing moves like crazy. Like, the thing is just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely why he gives up runs. But it's just, see, my problem is everyone's like, well, why don't we just start him in the second inning? And I'm like, well, the second inning is going to be just as bad as his normal first inning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't understand. Everyone's like, oh, we'll just put Albert Abreu in the front of him, and it'll be great. No, it won't. Stop it.
So I think one thing that I really wanted to talk about that I thought was very important about this game, because I know you said it before I did, you're like, this was a full team effort all around from both sides of the field. No home runs, which is different. I'm more of a home run guy because I think this team needs to hit more home runs, and that's how they're going to win the game. But if they win the game through base hits, I'm fine with it. In general, this team just looked really good. They were putting up really good productive at-bats. You saw the DJ at-bat where he was going into like the 10 ranges with pitches, 10-plus pitches. Gary also had one of those moments. Gary had a hit. Glaber had some hits.
Foul.
DJ had some hits. You know, you had Gardner and Wade that has hits too. Gardner also had a walk. You just had a really good performance from everybody. Judge had a hit too. Actually, 2 hits because he had the 500th career hit too. I just liked a lot what I saw. I think the really important thing to look at here, especially with what we were talking about with DJ and Gary, they both had huge at bats or huge hits that ended up, or actually Gary's wasn't a hit, but he did work out a 10 plus pitch at bat that ended up getting grounded out. And then DJ had the big 2-run one. But the point is that all of these guys are just putting up these productive long at bats. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. I know Gary wasn't extremely hot today, although he did have 1 hit. But really,
he's been like mediocre recently, so
he's been cooling off. Okay, I understand that. I'm one of the biggest Gary supporters there is. Hence the last podcast where I went on like a 20-minute rant. It seemed like, but at least the good thing that I like from Gary that I'm seeing is that obviously I was expecting him to cool off. Unless you're Shohei Ohtani at this point, everyone's going to have a cool off period.
Or Tatis.
Yeah, or Tatis, or even Tatis lately. He's kind of. I'm not saying he's been bad or anything. He's been really good, but there's been some stretches where Tatis, believe it or not, doesn't hit a home run every other game or so. But anyways, kind of where I'm going with it is Gary. Yes, obviously he's cooling down off the mountain that he was at. It was inevitable. It was going to happen. Even Judge, when he gets hot and stuff. Obviously, I don't have to worry as much about Judge compared to everybody else because he's freaking Aaron Judge. He's elite.
Whenever Judge cools off, everyone wants to throw him into the Boston Harbor like the Boston Tea Party. Like, they don't care. Like, it's just so unfortunate. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
Literally, he's having a great season. Okay? Let's just leave it at that.
So, I guess the point that I was going with Gary Sanchez was, of course, he was going to cool off from the high mountain that he was riding. But here's the thing. He might cool off, but he's still putting up collective and productive at-bats, just like that long at-bat he had against Odorizzi. Also, he's been walking a lot. The thing that I really like about Gary is he's not swinging at garbage in the dirt anymore. I saw a few sliders that Odorizzi was throwing, a few breaking pitches that weren't even that far off the zone, that were balls.
No thank you.
And they were really close pitches that in any other world Gary was swinging at, he was completely not having anything to do with it. I love that.
Yeah, Gary's like, get this shit out of my face. I don't want this. No, thank you.
And that's the good thing. It's like, yeah, he may be cooling off a bit, but it's like if he stays like that, where he knows which pitches to drive and which pitches to lay off of, and he keeps putting up collective at bats and he's walking more, how can you complain about that? Eventually, the results are going to come back, and he's going to go on another tear. It's inevitable. You know what I mean? As long as you're having collective at bats and you keep getting more plate appearances, more at bats, and you keep doing this. I've always said this. I've said it on multiple podcasts. I'm pretty much like a broken record at this point, but the big thing about Gary is he needs to play more and more and more. Give him more plate appearances. He's going to walk more. He's going to have more productive at-bats. He's going to drive in more runs. He's going to hit more homers. And all in all, everyone's going to be happy. Except for the people who, always criticizes him, even though he had a spectacular month in June, and even the month of May, he had a pretty good month too. But, I mean, what can you do? You can't really please those people. But outside of that, let's talk about the next 2 games that we have in Houston. So the game on Saturday, which will be technically today with the podcast getting uploaded before the game starts, and then Sunday. So Saturday we have Cole versus Greinke, and then on Sunday we have Valdez versus Taillon. So kind of give me your thoughts and opinions on what you hope to see from these next 2 games.
Cole better go at least 6 innings tomorrow or today, because if he doesn't, we're in a lot of trouble for Taillon's appearance, because God knows how long he's going to go against the Astros. I mean, look, he did really well against the Mariners being aggressive, but if you are aggressive as he was last time out, then he's going to get absolutely destroyed by this team. Like, they're a good team. They're not a bad team. They hit things, and they hit them hard, and they hit them far. Mm-hmm. Like, they're no joke, so, like, we're not getting around that. Like, today was a good game that we pitched well. They pitched them very effectively, but, like, I really don't know if I trust Taillon to do that. So, like, my point is that Cole needs to give you length, because if you have Cole give you, like, 6 innings of... Like, it's a 2-pronged attack here. So Cole needs to go 6 or 7 innings, needs to keep them down to 1 or 2 runs, and then the offense needs to show up against Greinke, because they got to score runs here. Like, you cannot have a safe situation going into this game, because you cannot use Green again, you cannot use Loaisiga again, because then that means that on Sunday, if you've used Green and Loaisiga, that means your setup guys are like Chapman and then maybe if Britton decides he can pitch again, I don't know. He's pitching a bullpen today. I don't know if he's going to be
Mhm.
pitched, but like your options are really limited when you go on a Sunday if you don't have like people like there's no bodies to pitch at that point. You're gonna have to call somebody up, I guess, and just hope to God we pile on runs on Sunday because
Mhm.
otherwise that's gonna be a punt lineup and everyone's gonna be upset when we have no one to go to.
Mhm. Yeah, I
So that's
completely
my
agree with you. I wanted to get your take on something because I know you were kind of like you're still iffy on Tyon, and I'm pretty sure everybody still is. But here's the thing,
somebody is.
I get it's the Mariners, but and that's the thing. Going from the Mariners to the Astros is like a night and day difference. I mean, I'm not saying the Mariners are terrible because obviously the Mariners right now
The Mariners
are a
took things.
winning team. They are technically in a push for a wild card spot. That's the thing about the Mariners. A lot of people don't understand. They win close games, and they also win like all of their extra inning games. Like they win these close games. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So in close games, the Mariners are extremely competitive. The problem is that a lot of time they get blown out of games, and it's out of reach at that point. But the thing I wanted to ask you was Tyon's last start, over 100 pitches, which was the first time he's done that this year. 7 innings, 9 strikeouts. I mean, just really, really, really good stuff. Only one earned run. That's the thing. I need to see it against a team that's not just the Mariners. Again, I understand they're a team that's above 500, but let's be real. Are we expecting the Mariners to make the playoffs? More than likely, probably not. I'm not expecting them to.
The
If they
Astros
do,
are
it'd
a
be
real
cool.
team.
But I'm not expecting the Mariners to win and go to the. I'm not expecting them to go to the wild card. The
The
Astros.
Astros are a real team. There's a reason
Mm,
why the Astros are second in the American League and grounded into double plays and still are winning so many games because
mm,
their offense, despite the fact they hit into 1,000 double plays, are like lethal offense. Like
mm,
Jordan Alvarez is a force. Altuve is hitting a million home runs. I mean, Correa is looking like he's going to get paid like as much money as Lindor got paid last year,
mm,
maybe more. Who knows? I mean, that's a good team right there. I mean, even the people you don't think of as much, like you don't even think of like Gurriel in there as well.
mm,
But like this is a good hitting offense.
mm,
Brantley is practically leading the American League in batting average right now, other
mm,
than like he's kind of cooled off a little bit. I think he was actually ahead of Vlad Guerrero Jr. for a little while.
mm,
I don't know. This is a good team. I'm not going to tell you that this is a bad team,
mm. And then you
but
got.
that's why I'm terrified of Tyone because when like his margin for error is so small. Like he
Mm,
cannot get away with mistakes right now. Like if they don't expand the zone on him, he's dead. If he's got to come into them, he's dead. It's I don't believe in him being able to win at bats in the strike zone. I feel like they're going to crush him
mm.
if he has to come inside to them.
And that's an interesting point to note that I really didn't think about with this first game. And I don't want to hear excuses from Astros fans and anything because at the same time the Yankees put out a lineup that didn't include Luke Voigt, and then they have Brett Gardner and Wade, which to be fair, Brett Gardner actually had a really good game, and Wade actually had a good hit in a
Yeah,
good
Wade had a good
spot that
game.
gave the Yankees 2 more runs.
To be
So
fair, I prefer
yeah.
the Castro, but still,
Mhm.
whatever. You got to give him at bats. Might as well throw him in there. I think Urias is a righty, so you might as well throw a lefty in there, just the hell of it. Whatever.
Mhm.
As many lefties as you can.
But what I was going to say about that was even the Astros lineup also was a little bit different. You didn't have
Yeah, that
Correa
was
hitting,
weird.
you didn't have Bregman hitting, but that's the thing. You also have guys like Miles Straw and Kyle Tucker who have been doing quite a bit for this team over the course of a period of time
Yeah,
without guys like
Slaughter.
Bregman in the lineup or so. Um, but I guess the point I was going at, I know I kind of just keep going in circles right now. I apologize for that. But with
We're
Tyon, going back to
man.
Tyon's start, really good start. Obviously, the Mariners are trying to make a push for wild card. I don't think they will. They are obviously above 500. It is what it is. But I need to see it against a real competitive, veteran-hardened team like the Astros, who we know are probably going to win the AL West. If not, if the Oakland somehow has like they Oakland is notorious for having these really hot second halves. So unless Oakland has
Yeah.
this super extremely second half and the Astros cool off and the Oakland A's win the division, it doesn't matter. There's no way the Astros with this kind of talent, they're not missing the playoffs, period. I don't think they're going to go just the wild card. I think they're going to win the West, but just hypothetical situation, say Oakland just gets really hot because they do that in the second half. Astros are still going to the wild card at the bare minimum. They're going to be a very dangerous team again in the postseason. I really don't expect the Astros to not make a push into at least the ALCS, if not the World Series. It's probably going to be between them and the Red Sox if I'm not being completely biased. Obviously I want to say the Yankees, but the Astros and the Red Sox are the best 2 teams in the American League right now. But I need to see more from Tyon. If he really wants to make a statement and if he really wants to get on people's good sides, he's not just going to have a great performance against the Mariners, but he's going to go out there and have another great performance against the Astros. That's really what's going to be like, whoa, okay, maybe this guy, not saying that Tyon isn't serious, because we know that Tyon has really good stuff. Problem is, he can't only show that against teams that we're not going to see if the Yankees end up making the postseason. You know what I mean? It's got to be against more competitive teams that are hardened and teams that you know that if you come across them in the postseason, obviously it's going to be a tough game. Like, you got to be on your A game every single at bat, every single pitch, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But here's another thing.
I want to see him throw more sinkers. Do that more. I don't even care if they're good pitches. You just need to put it in their brain that like you're increasing your sinker percentage. Like, this could be a sinker. Like, you never know. Like, obviously teams pay a lot of attention to these scouting reports, and they watch him practically overnight double or triple his sinker usage percentage. They're like, all right, we got to be looking out for that sinker now. So you got to show it to them before you can actually do anything else. Like, you need to just pump sinkers. I don't care if they're good pitches. Just don't don't throw it down the middle. Just doesn't have to be strikes. Just make them think about it. Put it in the back of their mind that you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. What do you have to lose?
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to mention also something, because I think we've probably talked enough about the Astro series and stuff. You know what? I'll just end up saving the heartbreak.
Lasagna.
I won't talk about the Red Sox series. I'm just going to say we've been playing really bad against the Red Sox, and they need to figure it out ASAP.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say about it. Because there's nothing good to say about any of the series that we played against the Red Sox. It's just been dreadful from the start.
Look,
so.
they're a solid team. They're a better team than we are right now. Sorry. Figure it out.
Here's the interesting thing, though. I thought we would talk about this. I know there's not a lot of positivity in here, but there are a few things. Let's talk about the Angels and Mets series real quick while we have a time and place to talk about it. What did you think about those two series?
Well, the Angels series was wet because of rain, and the Mets series was wet because of tears. How about that?
That's a good point. The thing was, I really wish deep down in my heart they would have just called the game and just suspended it, be like, give the Yankees the win, because you knew what happened after that. We got
Chapman made pitch go brr.
And then the Angels ended up dropping a 7 spot because Jared Walsh is the next coming of Jesus Christ and hit a grand slam. To be fair, Jared Walsh is one of the most underrated players in the league. I actually tweeted something about like my top 3 underrated players. I put him in there, and he's making his first ever All-Star, so congratulations to him. But when you have a 7-run lead, you just cannot give up a 7 spot. You cannot give up a grand slam like that. You just can't.
There's 2 things. There's 2 problems I had with this. The first one is we know Chapman is garbage in anything other than a save situation, and right now Chapman is just garbage in general. I mean, like, I don't know what else to tell you here. I mean, it's just awful. Awful.
How about Shohei Ohtani though?
Do something else.
That's
my favorite part. The only thing I enjoyed about this Angels series was Nestor Cortez. A whole at bat against Ohtani was hilarious. And
even Ohtani was laughing about it. He's like, "What is this guy doing?"
Look, that's the best. When you strike out and you still have a good time. Like, he's cool with it. Like, that was a fun at bat. I was surprised the umpire didn't call an illegal quick pitch on him, but I'll take it. Like, whatever.
And it was so funny because one of the pitches that Nestor threw was a really good pitch. It was out of the zone. And somehow Shohei Ohtani took it to the warning track, and Nestor was like, how? How is this guy this strong?
Ohtani can cover the play really well, apparently. Apparently, as we've learned, he's pretty good at baseball. So, that's he's pretty good, man. I don't know. He's pretty damn good.
That's a pretty obvious statement,
if
I might say so myself.
Like, yeah, we won. I don't even really remember that many things about this series. I remember that, like, I was really disappointed that Judge didn't play that game at all. I thought it was a very weird day off. I didn't understand it. It made no sense. I mean, it was, if you guys listen to talk radio as much as I listen to talk radio, it's just all over it. Like, if Judge's the leader, how come Judge didn't get in there and say, I want to play today, Aaron? Why didn't Boone put him in the lineup? Why didn't he demand to be in the lineup? Is he really hurt? Apparently he's not, because he's back playing. He's fine. But, like, it's just so weird because you have an off day the next day. So why are you resting him that day? It made no sense. I mean, everyone was just like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We're winning the game anyway." Yeah, well, guess what? Reality check, we lost the game, and it's not everyone can be like, "Oh, well, it didn't matter." You can't blame them for not putting Judge in the lineup. Look, the pitching blew the game. Well, honestly, maybe if we didn't go 7 innings without putting up a run, we're getting one hit or like one run on one hit, Brett Gardner's home run, maybe we wouldn't have had to have Chapman come in a 7-run game. Maybe it could have been more than that. You know what I mean? You could have buried them and then put Chapman in like a 10-run game. It wouldn't have mattered. But here we are. Whatever. Look, it was still within reach at that point because you knew Chapman was going to put up like 4 or 5 runs that game at that point. Like, you're like, all right, well, the bases are loaded, so yeah, let's just let him go.
That was just a weird
10-run lead.
That was just a weird game all around because Shohei Ohtani ends up getting knocked out of the first inning. I thought that was the one game where the Yankees were going to be like, okay, if there's a chance of us winning the series, this is the game that we're going to lose against Ohtani. Like, he's going to show.
That was the game where you're like, all right, put it in autopilot, done. You've got like an 8-run lead. Over it. And as it turned out, no lead is safe. Chapman gives up the grand slam, and then, you bring in Luetke. I don't understand. Everyone's like, oh, why would you bring in Luetke after Chapman? I mean, look, Luetke's been a good pitcher for us. He had a bad night. I'm sorry. It just happened to be that way. Look, when you have these long rain delays, sometimes people just don't think they're going to pitch again that night, and then all of a sudden they got to get told, hey, man, you're going to the game right now. Like, it's an 8-run lead. He's like, all right, like, imagine you're a relief pitcher and it's an 8-run game and you're like, all right, Chapman's going in the game. All right, let's just go home. And all of a sudden you see that ball go over the center field wall, and then they're like, hey man, you got to get up and you got to start pitching now. Like, you're checked out and you got to go in the game at that point. So look, Luetke's been one of our best pitchers, honestly. Like, he's been great for us. I can't tell you that. Like, he's been fantastic, but I can't fault him for giving up runs in that situation. Look, he was super cold at that point. I mean, look, it's 1 a.m. Everyone jumps on it.
That's the thing, though. I actually mentioned this on Twitter, too. The thing about Lucas in the last, I wouldn't say the last 2 starts, because he did have that really good start against the Mets on July 3rd. But out of his last 3 starts, he had 2, ERAs imploded games. But that's the thing. On the game against the Angels, he had a 1.67 FIP. And then the game against the Mets, he had a negative .83 FIP. So it's not even like the guy was pitching bad in those games either.
Unlucky.
He wasn't. He was just getting extremely unlucky. So honestly, I'm just getting tired of this fan base shooting down even the best guys for having one bad start. Hey, if Loaizaga goes out there, as much as he's been shoving, that's the thing. Loaizaga, I wanted to mention this. Loaizaga and Chad Green, they're both in the top 10 for FWAR among relievers. And they're top 5 among American League relievers top 10 in general.
They're literally 1 and 2 in the American League.
They've been extremely, extremely good for this team. But that's the thing. If they have one bad game, everyone's going to blow up on them. I can't even tell you a month ago people were telling me Chad Green sucks, and now everyone's bowing down to his feet because he's out there just nails.
I understand. There's situations where people are like, well, why did Boone use this guy in this situation? I understand when you're down 1 and you're in a game you have to win, and you're just like, all right, well, let's just throw Abreu out there and let's just throw Wilson out there. I understand there's situations like that don't make any sense. I have zero problem with putting Luetke in after Chapman. I don't have any problem with that. I trust Luetke. I think he's a good pitcher. It's just that, unfortunately, that night he just got unlucky. It happens. It was just a combination of just things are not going to go our way today after the rain delays. Like, it was just fate at that point. It was a fait accompli. Like, there's nothing you could do.
That's the thing, though. Like you said, I can't blame Lucas because he's been really good and he got unlucky. Unlike Lucas, who got unlucky, Chapman was just straight up bad. He wasn't unlucky. He was just bad. And that's the thing. People don't even understand.
He just missed spots. He just missing his location.
Chapman's been bad for quite some time because if you think about it, remember the close game that we won again, or we won. The Yankees.
Yeah, Chapman has 2. Like, there's the White Sox game, one on triple play. Yeah, and there's that other game a couple of days ago, one on triple play. And we're like, what?
That's what I was gonna say. Is the game with when the Yankees played the Athletics and they ended up getting the triple play.
You're like, wow.
His FIP was extremely high.
Yeah,
he wasn't pitching good at all. He was missing his spots. He got so lucky. It's not even funny.
He has not been like. I'm not gonna lie to you. He has his moments. He just got bailed out like a bunch beforehand. So like the wool has been over our eyes a little bit in terms of what he's been doing. But like, man, right now, like even against the Mariners, that was a rough outing. That was like, I'm like, what was our lead at that point? We had what, an 8-run lead, and Chapman's
pretty decent lead.
He's like single, strikeout, walk, strikeout, walk, strikeout. I'm just like, my heart's in my chest. Like, am I getting ready for another grand slam here? Hello?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
they had
the first guy hits a ground ball to the right side. Oh my! And also on top of this, if you guys want to get upset, don't get upset about the pitchers. All right, get upset about the defensive positioning. All right, if you want to get mad at something, get mad at that. Because I see like 1,000 ground balls go through the ship. Like, get mad at that, but don't get mad at putting the pitchers in. Because a lot of them are doing their job. It's just that the defense is just, noodle arm Brett Gardner in the infield and just can't pick up the ball. I don't know.
So I wanted to talk to you about something since we were on the topic of Aroldis Chapman, and I kind of mentioned it. And I was talking.
I can't wait for this one. Oh.
Talking to some people on Twitter about it. So I think it was Talking Yanks who tweeted it out, or it might have not been that. It might have been somebody else. I can't remember for the life of me. Don't credit. I don't know exactly, but I do remember somebody tweeted out. They were like asking me. They were like, "What do you think is wrong with Aroldis Chapman right now? Like, do you think it has anything to do with the foreign substance policy?" And I told them, in my personal opinion, no, because that's the thing. Aroldis Chapman, remember against the Blue Jays, he was dominant. He was really good against the Blue Jays when we swept them, or when the Yankees swept them. So he was really good, and that was after the fact that they started cracking down on the foreign substance. So I don't think it's that. I think it's either that, that finger that has been bothering him, whatever that nail that's been bothering him, or he's just gassed.
Already.
So what do you think it is? Do you think there's some sort of injury, or do you think he's just been overtaxed to death?
It's probably just something mechanically wrong with him at this point. I mean, that would explain the low velo, and would explain the fact that his timing's off. I mean, you go through mechanical issues all the time. I mean, it just happens. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, "Oh, he's using spider tag. He can't control the splitter." I'm like, you want the splitter to have no spin on it. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, if anything, I'm pretty sure the spider tag would stop him from using the splitter, let alone pitching the splitter. I mean, it seems like it's like if you have sticky stuff on your split finger, it would prevent you from controlling it. But that's maybe just me. I don't know. I'm looking through his baseball savant to see if I can see when was the last time he pitched. What it was like
the Mariners
8th or something.
But that's the thing. I don't know if you noticed that, but it just seems like when this whole period of time that he's been struggling, he's not using a splitter. And that's the thing. I noticed that, like you said, your heart is pounding through your chest, even though you have a 12-1 lead against the Mariners. But that's the thing. I noticed that while Chapman did struggle, when he was hitting his spots, he was throwing the splitter. He struck out one of the headers on a splitter. Why is he not throwing the splitter more?
I just think he doesn't trust it.
That's what I don't understand. It's so good.
I think he's afraid he's going to hang it. I think that's what he might be afraid of. And he's a confidence pitcher. Maybe he just doesn't have the confidence right now. I'm looking at this. I'm trying to pick up his spin rate right now. It's just taking me a couple minutes. I'm looking at his spin rates. I mean, his splitter's down 360 RPMs. His four-seam fastball spin rate's down at like 188. Slider spin rate's down too. I mean, so maybe that's just some regression from sticky stuff. But I mean, it's just I don't know. Let me look back further. When was the Angels game? What was that?
The Angels game was June 28th through June 30th. Because we didn't play on the 31st, 31st. July 1st, sorry. Because of that rain delay that ended up postponing, or not the rain delay, they ended up completely postponing the game as a whole. So, I mean, I don't know. I just really don't know what's going on with him right now. And that's what I don't understand.
You just got to get him in a game, and you just got to work through it. Like, this is not the first time we've seen this out of him. Like, this happens all the time. There's nothing new. This happened back. He lost a closer job for 2 months one year. It happened. And we brought him back, and he pitched well in the playoffs until he decided he wanted to give up a home run to somebody.
Well, I also wanted to mention one more thing before we go ahead and cut this podcast, because I think we've done quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I can talk about the Mets.
I mean, The thing was,
Like,
I don't think
his
I don't.
spin rate against the Angels wasn't even that bad. His spin rate was normal against the Angels. He just couldn't find a location for it.
I don't think I'm qualified to talk about the Mets because I only watched one game, and that's because I ended up going to Dallas the next 2 days because I ended up going to Six Flags. So I can't really talk about the Mets series. I just know from Yankees Twitter they were having a complete meltdown, and obviously they didn't play well. So that's really all I have to talk about the Mets series because I didn't watch it.
The one where they melted down against them was akin to the Angels series, where they also melted down. I mean, it was eerily similar in many situations. The situation is this with the Mets: couldn't hit Taijuan Walker, gave up 1,000 singles. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts, and we couldn't hit Taijuan Walker. That was game one, and then game two was just Garrett Cole, for some reason, is gassed and can't make it more than 3.5 innings against the vaunted New York Mets offense that is almost dead last in runs scored, and for some reason couldn't put them away. Had nothing that day. Then the bullpen blew it again. After I think we took the lead too on a wild pitch, classic Yankee rally. A wild pitch scores a runner. I'm pretty sure that happened. And then the last game, I think we salvaged that one.
Yep.
I don't remember anymore. I put it out of my memory because it was miserable.
All I know is that lately the only really good series was the Mariners series, and it was really fun to beat them 12-1. We should do that again. We should score more runs like that again because that was really fun seeing everybody. I think the Yankees had like at least 5 or more walks that game and like 18 hits. Like, let's do that again. Let's swing the bats more like that. That was awesome. And that was also against no, it wasn't against Kikuchi. Who was it against? We did win the game against Kikuchi, which is technically considered their best pitcher, who's been really good for the Mariners, which I was very happy about, which Kikuchi was struggling quite a bit, and then he bounced back and started pitching a lot better.
But the game we won against the Mets was the one where Nestor Cortez went like absolute unit on them and absolutely shut down that vaunted offense that Garrett Cole could not overcome.
Nasty Nestor Cortez.
And then for some reason we put in Darren O'Day, who pitched like 1 inning, and then after that stubbed his toe and can no longer pitch this season. Or so I'm told, something like that. Maybe he got a paper cut, or maybe you know what? Maybe one of those. If you've ever been on the playground and they have the rubber chunks, one of them flew into his eye, and that's it, done for the season. IL, get him out of here. Can't pitch again. I feel bad for him. I love the guy in the bullpen, but for the love of God, he's had like 3 IL stints this year. Yeah. I mean, look, what is the guy like? The guy from SpongeBob, Glass Bones and Paper Skin Man. Come on, man.
So the last thing I want to talk about on the podcast. I wanted to get your opinion on this too, so you can kind of tell me. Gardner, I will say something about him, which, I mean, he's kind of somewhat on a short leash, kind of not, because, I mean, it's a small sample size. I can't ignore this fact. I have to be honest with you. I kind of have to rant about it because it's ridiculous.
Old man Gardy, noodle arm.
You know, we have outfielders like, Frazier, who was playing a lot, who has like a negative .8 F4.
Except he's not playing because he has vertigo, and if he looks up, he might go into a coma.
You have Andujar, who has a negative .1 F4. You have Brett Gardner, who ended up having did he go up? Hold on, that's full season. I need the live stats full season because Gardner went up. Yeah, Gardner went up.
How did he go up?
Gardner went up a whole .1 F4. He went a whole .1 F4. But here's the thing.
He's positive F4. How do you get I'm pretty sure I could get a positive F4 in terms of playing in front of Brett Gardner right now. What are you talking about?
But here's the thing. Gardner went up from a .1 to .2. So you have these outfielders that you're running on a consistent basis who has a negative .8 F4, negative .1 F4, and now only a .2 F4. And you also have Tyler Wade. You're still playing a lot too. I don't get it. Like, what do you have to do about this? How do you consistently run an outfield out like this and not think for 1 second that we should call up Park or we should call up Trey or let's not go off and sign Joey Gallo or Adam Frazier or something like that. Come on now.
I know the answer. Okay, I'll give you a little secret here. Hold on a second. Here, it's a little secret. It's called getting people ready to get traded.
Who are you going to trade? You're going to trade all 4 of them for a bag of peanuts?
I guarantee you. Okay, so my theory is because Park's not on the 40-man, so they don't want to cut someone to get him. They don't want to cut anyone to put him on the 40-man. So might be one of the people we trade. I think Amber Gee might eventually come up, but I feel like that Park might actually go and trade someone. That's what I think. And I think that they just don't want to bring him up because they don't want to get him hurt. And they honestly don't want to bring him up and have him do poorly so that way they can't trade him.
The thing is, though, is that Park just keeps destroying the league. His
I know,
OBP is going through
but
the
the
roof.
problem is that if they bring him up and he does poorly, then his trade balloon value is gone. You know, like you're not trading a lottery ticket anymore. You're trading a guy who can rake in the AAA and then can't play in the majors like Tyler Wade. Like that's what the problem is that's why they don't want to bring him up. And also, like I said, he's not on the 40-man. So right now, they want to artificially inflate his value in the minors so that way they can sell a lottery ticket to somebody so that way they can get a return on him. So that way he can turn into somebody like the guy that we traded to the Athletics for Sonny Gray. Who was that? No, I don't remember his name. He ended up with the Pirates, and then I think got DFA'd again. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. But, like, I think that's what they're doing with this. I think that they're trying to artificially inflate his value so that way they don't pop the bubble by bringing him up to the major league so that they have to cut someone on the 40, and that way they can trade him for more than they think they should get him for, honestly. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. They're raking in the minors right now. Like, him and Amber Gee both have, 30-plus game on-base streaks? Like, that's nuts. Like, they're absolutely raking right now. But I just think that that's why they're not doing it. And Tim LeCastro... Like, look, if he was a lefty, he'd be taking every day from Brett Gardner right now, but he's not. So he may play against a lefty. He may play against a righty. He may play against a lefty because he's a righty. But I think that's why they haven't done that. And Miguel Andujar is probably going to go to the IL tomorrow, honestly, too.
Well, the whole problem that I have with it is you run these outfielders out there consistently, and they're almost doing absolutely nothing. If not, Miguel Andujar and Clint Frazier are hurting the team more than they're doing positives.
Miguel Andujar is not an outfielder. Miguel Andujar is only there because the bat was electric, and it's kind of cooled off a little bit. And Clint Frazier decided, I don't know what Clint Frazier's deal is. Like, I'm not gonna blame him for getting hurt again, but it seems to me like his lavish lifestyle of diving for baseballs and being Superman seems to maybe have jostled his brain around too many times and is having concussion symptoms reappear after all these years. I mean, look, I think the guy takes way too many risks, and he isn't a good enough of a player to warrant the risks. Like, something's clearly wrong with him. And my question is how long has this injury been present? Because him having concussion symptoms making him off balance and having vertigo would explain why he just cannot figure out how to hit a baseball this year. That would explain it. And obviously he doesn't want to tell them this because he's been promised a starting job and doesn't want to lose his starting job. And if he does that, maybe he never gets another starting job. Like, so maybe Clint Frazier's been hiding this and finally he just couldn't do it anymore and it's just like, look, I can't take it anymore. Like, this sucks. And maybe he's at that point right now. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. We'll never find out. That's my theory. And obviously, you know, I have theories akin to the JFK assassination, but who knows?
We're not going to get on that. You've told me about these conspiracy theories all the time. We're not going to get into that because we could literally talk about it for days and days.
Also, Chad Green threw an immaculate inning against the Mariners, which was crazy. Was it the Mariners?
No, it was the Mets.
The Mets.
It was the Mets, yeah.
The Mets. Very impressive. I mean, look, that was a 2-inning save culminating in oh, no, he got the win, didn't he?
Again, I'm not qualified to talk about it because remember, I did not watch that Mets game. Yeah.
He got the win. Tell me this makes sense. In order for you to get the win in a 7-inning game, you have to pitch 5 innings. How silly is that? How silly is that? He got the win instead of the save because he pitched 2 innings and because he's the only pitcher after the 5th inning that pitched. I mean, it's so silly. I don't understand it. And also the fact that you pay full price for a 7-inning game ticket also makes no sense too. MLB fixed this.
Oh, I already complained about that. I'm like, that's highway robbery.
You pay
paying a full price ticket
for a 7-inning game. That's
called
that's fraud and it's thievery. Stop it.
All right. Well, I think we covered enough topics for today. If you guys did enjoy the podcast, obviously definitely like the video and share the video. Comment down below on your thoughts and opinions. Also, make sure you do subscribe, and if you aren't, obviously subscribe. If you're new here, click the bell notification so you don't miss a video of anything that goes up on this channel, so you get the notifications and you get to watch the video immediately as soon as I post them, assuming that YouTube's sub boxes are not messing up, which that's kind of happens sometimes. But
happens all the time.
But outside of that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Hopefully the Yankees keep on winning. Hopefully they at least take the series from Houston.
Good luck, Tyone.
And we will see you guys later.